Imagine what would happen if you took all the bad and boring parts of games, combined them, slapped some weird story and bad writing on it, and released it to the public. Well, that's enough about Mind's Eye. Welcome back to the Boneheaded Guide to Nightreign. This time we'll be having a look at the bosses in the game. Now, these are separated into the following categories: the field bosses, which can be found roaming the world, in ruins, or in dungeons; the end of the day bosses, which you'll fight when the zone gets to the smallest point; and finally, the Night Lords, who you'll fight at the end of a run, and either jump for joy when they're dead, or want to fling your controller out the window. We'll begin our journey with the field bosses. There's quite a lot of these, and if we were to go through them all, we'd be here till next Christmas. So here's a brief look at the more memorable ones, or at least the ones that I could think of quick jokes for. Come on, man. There's 8 Night Lords to go through as well. Can't be given a description for all these damn things. Your dog when they don't get fed on time. The effects of a ghost chili. More gold than Trump Tower. The secret Angry Birds character. Clifford, the big red prick. The before, during, and after Weight Watchers. And his vegan mate. So that's the more memorable, or I guess recognizable, field bosses. But before we move on, I want to highlight a special group of bosses that are so annoying to fight they deserve to be in their own category. So, without further ado, I introduce you to the Unholy Trinity of GTFO. If you don't know what that stands for, you're either too young to be watching this or need to Google it. So, who's a part of this special little group? Well, let's start with the unholy spirit. Well, more specifically, the ulcerated tree spirit. Yes, if you've fought this monstrosity before, you already know that it's more of a fight against the mere idea of a decent camera than it is against this floating turd abomination. My advice for this: don't bother, and enjoy a stable camera. Well, for a while at least. So, who's next? Well, that'll be the disappointing sun, the draconic tree sentinel. Chances are that if you have ever encountered this prick before, you immediately went onto YouTube and looked up a strategy guide and or a cheese guide. So, save yourself some time and your mental health and skip this weird cosplayer who in the gameplay is so annoying he called in his ultimate move of shutting down the network. Finally, we have the abusive father, the bell-bearing hunter. If you have ever questioned that this developer wants to make you suffer, then here's the yes to that question. For some reason they made him the tankiest and most annoying boss in the whole game, and to that I answer with one word: nope. Ignore this and save yourself what's left of your mental health if you ignored my previous warnings to not fight the previous two bosses. For some of you, that was a trip down Nightmare Lane. For others, it was a taste of hell. Now for the end of day bosses. Again, there's a lot of bosses you'll fight in this stage of the game, so I'll be covering the more memorable encounters. Oh, and just for an extra sprinkle of fun, the bosses in that unholy trinity can also appear as the end of day bosses. Fun game, right? Good luck with that shit. You might recognise this distinguished gentleman from Dark Souls 1, but don't worry, he won't lag your game to hell this time. Not much strategy here, hit until dead usually works. He'll jump and slam down, but that's about all. He can detach his limbs to fight you, but they die pretty quick, so not really much of a threat. But don't get too cocky, or you're prone to make a mistake and cost yourself the run. Now we have the return of one of the most bizarre creature designs I've personally ever seen in a game. Again, we have a boss that jumps and slams, however, this one can start sprinting around the arena and can grab you. It also has a vomit attack that looks like the aftermath of a good night out in the club. By the way, little Easter egg here from Dark Souls 1, you can cut off its tail to get a random weapon, so that's a fun little nod back to the original. You might be wondering why there's no footage of this boss, and personally, I don't remember fighting it. Or I did, and I blocked it from my memory. I truthfully never wanted to see this thing again after Dark Souls 2, and the hell it was to get to this boss. But since this is a guide, here's some of his moves. He'll swing his sword, and a fire trail will follow it, so be ready to dodge twice for him. If he lights up really orange and then blue, anyone near him will start being roasted. Bit like if you put a photo of yourself on that one Reddit page. But truthfully, not a bad boss. Well, now it's time for every arachnophobe's favourite boss. Yes, Freya is back, and it's even easier than the original. You can only hit its head and the body won't take any damage. And truthfully, this boss is not built for multiplayer because you can just hit both heads at the same time. Now, notable attacks include a laser beam, and that's meant to stop you from hitting that head and running around and hitting the other, but as mentioned, with multiple people, you can just hit both at the same time, and this thing will die literally within minutes. You can also be stabbed by its legs, and oh yeah, one other thing, watch out for its webs. We move on now to the Dark Souls 3 bosses. Everyone remembers the dancer, right? This boss spinning around the room like a Beyblade on meth. Yeah, well, you won't really see much of that because if you hated this boss in Dark Souls 3, well, you're going to really enjoy it in this game because this thing is not built for multiple people. I mean, it doesn't really get a chance to do very much. I mean, yes, it'll still do its spin attack and its slashes and that weird grab attack that looked like it was lagging in the previous game. But truthfully, it sort of just stands there and gets pummeled. I mean, if it does get some attacks in, then you'll probably get one shot, let's be honest here. It is Nightreign, and you've probably figured out by this point that every boss does a metric shit ton of damage for just about no reason at all. But you shouldn't be finding this thing too bad with multiple people. If you're on solo, however, well, you're probably going to have as much fun as you did in Dark Souls 3, let's be honest here. Well, we enter into our final boss we'll be covering for the end of day. Hold on a minute here. That's the wrong name for this, but hold on a minute, let me just fix that. There we go. Yes, this thing is back again, and oh boy, so is that dreadful camera. If you're seeing this for the first time, well, you're in for a real treat with this one. So, there's two phases to this boss, and yes, they copied both from Dark Souls 3. The dragon will slam and breathe fire, as a dragon can do, but while it's in the air, he can fling lightning bolts at you from atop the giant turkey. He can also swing his spear and then, do some slam attacks with it, but generally, it's not too bad. But once the giant turkey is dead, he'll come down for the 1v1. Or this is Nightreign, so he'll be in for a 1v3 and get decimated. Yes, he can throw some explosive flatulence at you, followed by the slowest of combos, mixed in with some slams of his own. If you fought him in Dark Souls 3, you might remember a trick. When he goes to strike you with lightning from the sky, you can unlock your camera from him, look away, and it'll miss. Yeah, that don't work in this game, so don't be surprised if you get electrocuted like that one idiot who stuck a fork in the toaster. Well, we've made it to the last lot of bosses in this game, the Night Lords. You'll fight these at the end of your run, depending on which expedition you've chosen. There's 8 of them in total, and they're all absolute cinema. Well, most of them anyway. Let's get started.
What the dog doing?
Well, it's here to kill you. Ain't that obvious? You'll fight this boss if you choose the Tricephalos expedition. Now, this boss should be entering the bloody Olympics, as one of its attacks includes a leap that can cover half the bloody arena. You may also notice a chain sword on its back. Yeah, it can swing that thing around and it has some mad range on it, so be prepared to dodge no matter how far away you might think you're safe at. Other than that, it has a fire breath attack that it can shoot like a bloody shotgun. If that shotgun was from Battlefield, of course, and it could hit people from a mile away. After all that, we'll get into stage 2. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. It'll split into 3. Now, ideally, you'll want one person on each dog, or head, whatever. However, if you're playing a ranged character like I or Recluse or something to that effect, then be prepared to be dogpiled, in a quite literal sense, as this thing hates being plinked from far away, so all 3 of them will dive bomb you. At stage 3, it can light the sword on fire and send a trail of napalm straight towards you. So, how do you beat this thing, you might ask? Well, there's the old adage of get good, but you might also want to keep in mind that for all of these bosses, make sure you're using their weakness against them. For this boss, I believe it's holy damage, so if you have weapons with holy damage, you'll be able to stagger it, and fun fact, if you get to stage 2 and it starts splitting into 3 and you're not a big fan of that sort of thing, if you hit all 3 of them with the holy damage and stagger them, then it will force it to go back into 1. So, up to you. All 3 at once, or just the 1. Your choice. But it's a pretty good starting boss, and a pretty good soundtrack to boot. Adele. No, not the singer. But instead of rolling in the deep, this thing likes to fly, slam down, and then roll around like a pig in shit. You'll fight this boss in the Gaping Jaw expedition. Now, there's a lot of weird attacks in this one, including a grab attack that'll lead to getting chewed up like a bit of chewing gum. But if your teammates are competent, they can save you by attacking and then staggering the boss. To trigger stage 2, it'll do an AoE attack, or in layman's terms, a massive explosion. Now, during this, I would recommend saying a quick prayer to God, Satan, whoever you want really, because this attack has been known to lag the game to the point where it'll turn into a slideshow. Now, lots of his attacks will now leave cracks in the floor, which will explode, and he's now much more of a fan of running around and chomping like he's playing Hungry Hippos. This man's weakness is poison, much like every boss in these type of games really. But honestly, I don't know why the gravity magic boss is weak to poison. I really can't understand that one, but this isn't a lore video, so I'm not getting into it. Yeah, not a bad boss and a decent soundtrack, so what more do you need in life really? Well, maybe touching grass once in a while would be pretty healthy. Speaking of touching grass, we move on to the average bug size in Australia. Yes, if you thought you wouldn't be getting a duo boss in this game, welcome to one of the more annoying ones from recent memory. You'll fight this boss in the Sentient Pest Expedition, and I hope you brought a ranged character to hit that flying one. The flying one will shoot magic as well as poison mist that will cover most of the arena, and will also do damage as well as give you poison, so it's just a double fuck you from the developer really. The big scorpion looking freak will charge about, slam spikes from the floor, and generally just be a nuisance when he turns into rock, which means you can't really do much damage when you hit him. Stage 2 then, the flying one will jump onto his back, and get ready for this absolute mess of an attack. They charge around the arena, flinging magic everywhere, summoning lasers from the sky, and just for an added sprinkle of fun, there'll be like some sort of weird magic flying about in like a circle sort of motion. It's a weird one to describe, but you'll understand when you see it. Much of the attacks are the same, other than them, and as you'd probably expect, like most bugs, its weakness is fire. Soundtrack, yeah, it's one of the more happier ones, although you won't be too happy if you have to fight this thing multiple times over. But have fun.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is it?
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Chef Ramsay. Yeah, that was genuinely my first reaction when I seen this floating sperm fish that spews out sleeping powder. Yeah, it's a very strange boss. You'll fight it in the Augur expedition, and you'll wish you hadn't selected that mission. It's just so slow and boring, in my opinion. But, you know, it is a guide, so let's go through some of the attacks. It'll shoot some water at you that just looks a bit janky, and like the timing of your dodge is just really weird because it like bounces if it misses you. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. It also shoots out jellyfish that explode like nuclear bombs. But if you fun wee tip for you here, if you can destroy them before they explode, then they'll actually like release some sort of sorcery that'll damage the boss. And believe you me, that'll do more damage than any melee character that you have in your team, because to hit this thing is like thread in the eye of a needle. Okay, it's just not fun. It'll also shoot out these hands that pop out of the floor, and all they really serve to do is really get your nerves just boiling, and I mean boiling, because they'll just slap you in the back because the camera isn't zoomed out enough that you see them. So you're in the situation where you run away to heal and then get slapped in the back in bloody one shot. But same thing as the jellyfish, if you destroy them, they'll release some sorcery and do some damage. So once you get into stage 2, you'd think, oh, it gets a bit more exciting. No, it's the exact bloody same thing, except this time it'll have a sleep nuclear bomb. So basically this entire boss is to do with sleep, and while you're asleep you'll just take damage. It's just not fun. But it can be interrupted if you use its weakness, which is lightning. Lightning against water? Yeah, sure, why not? I'm not really a fan of this one, or the soundtrack. I mean, it sounds like white noise, as if I needed anything else in this to make me fall asleep. Who's next on our list? Oh yes, the Art of the Deal. You'll fight this demon in the Equilibrious Beast Expedition. Very interesting mechanic at the start where you can make a deal. For example, you can get a really powerful weapon, but there's every time you heal, you'll lose a level. There's a few of those deals, and it's entirely up to you if you want to take the gamble. I mean, it's all to do with balance, this boss, so, you know, you take something good, you're going to get shafted. So, onto the moves. Well, this man loves his frenzy magic. Sigils on the floor will shoot lasers, the sigils in the air will shoot a minigun at you, and he just loves to teleport on top of you, just for good measure. So, one of his attacks is that he'll put himself into a bubble. Now you have two choices here. Either you break the sigils to get him out, and he'll go ballistic and be more animalistic in his attacks, or you let him finish the move, but he'll take less damage, but the movement is more magic based, similar to how he is at the start. Keeping with the idea of balance, this boss is weak to frenzy. Ironic, because he uses quite a lot of it. But he'll drop these wee crystals on the floor. Don't think they're bad. if you pick them up, they'll actually reduce the magic bar, or the frenzy bar, sorry. So, you know, you have a bit of a leg up there. They didn't shaft too much in this boss. I'm kidding. Yeah, the OST is kind of like getting initiated into a Mongolian death cult, but yeah, it's a really good soundtrack. Really unique boss as well, and definitely one of the standouts in this game for me. Moving on then to our next boss fight, I'm going to start off with a warning. Prepare to have more trains run on you than Bonnie Blue. You'll fight this centaur in the Dark Drift Night Expedition. Now, this boss will charge around the arena like a lunatic swinging his sword, spear thing at you. Genuinely, when I first saw it, I thought it was a pair of scissors. That's not even a lie. When you see him start to charge up, hit him with all the lightning you have, as that's his weakness. Otherwise, he'll start making you slow and summon massive spears out of the ground that will, unironically, split you in two. Now, if you stop him and stagger him a little bit, the spears will still pop out, but they're much smaller and they'll do a lot less damage. Now, whenever he starts getting into a bit of a charge-up routine, he'll start running around like a kid after the first hit of sugar, and he'll start leaving like an AoE trail behind him that'll start exploding. And at the end of it, he'll do like a big massive explosion out in front of him, so be prepared once the train stops, there's still another attack to dodge. He can also summon the wind as an AoE, which is by far his most annoying attack. He'll just shoot a big barrel of wind at you, and it's, just the timing of it is really weird to get. He's a really tough one, to be honest with you. Now, stage 2, he'll grow like this abyss sort of arm that looks like that one scene out of Scary Movie, Grab My Strong Arm, everyone remembers that. Yeah, with this he'll start charging up and swinging it around and jumping into the air, slamming down, but the rest of the attacks, they're pretty similar. Side note though, this soundtrack makes me feel like I'm about to be sent off into war, and it's a really cinematic and action-packed boss. Definitely a really good one. Next on the list we have the Ice Dragon. Insert your favourite Mr. Freeze pun here.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Thanks for that, Arnold. So, as you'd probably expect, this boss is weak to fire. Now, this is quite a strange boss, because it has an amazing design, visuals, and a soundtrack that slaps harder than Will Smith, and yet he's genuinely one of the easiest bosses in the whole game. I'm not kidding when I say that, or being sarcastic, he's genuinely one of the easiest night bosses. So, the attacks are pretty basic to start with. He can recoil his tail, and then when he slams it down, he'll send like an ice blast at you. He can also slash you with claws and breathe ice, and genuinely have as much frostbite protection as you can, because this thing just loves it. One of the more unique attacks is that he'll cover the whole arena in fog and disappear, and if you don't find him, he'll freeze the air and slam it down, and it's genuinely just a piece of cinema watching that. Now there is an alternate of this attack where the rocks will appear, and he'll do like a big ice breath attack that will cover the whole arena, and if you're not behind a rock, you're still getting hit no matter if you dodge or not. You'll be able to tell he's doing that one because it looks like he's sort of sucking in power, so just watch out depending on which one he does on that one. In later stages he can then leave ice bombs around the map that will just explode, as you'd expect from a bomb. He can also fly around and shoot ice crystals at you. Now you probably think that will be a threat, but it's really not that hard to dodge. I don't really understand that. It's meant to be like a really big, impactful attack, and it doesn't really do much. But oh well. Amazing boss. One of the best soundtracks I've personally ever heard from a From Software game, but a little too easy. But I guess that is the price of pure cinema. And so we've made it on to the finale, the final Night Lord, a medieval Slipknot and My Chemical Moonlight collaboration. You'll fight the final Night Lord in the Night Aspect Expedition, and oh boy did they cook with this one. It starts off pretty slow and you might think, wow, this is pretty easy and a bit disappointing for a final boss, but once you deplete that health bar, well, that's where the real fun begins. Now, this man in this stage loves an AoE so much that he'll start the stage with one every single time. So be prepared. Other than that, he has some sword swings and an attack that'll shoot some projectiles at you. And just a bit of a side note here, this man doesn't really know who he wants to target. He could be charging an attack facing straight at you, have a sudden burst of schizophrenia, and attack someone half across the arena. So, you know, just be prepared if you think you're safe for that one. Now, he'll fly into the air, and the real cinema will truly begin. He'll slice the arena in background in half, and absorb the power of a previous Night Lord and slam down, causing an AoE. You can work out what the power is by the colour that he cuts into the sky. So for example, orange would be fire, green would be poison, purple is gravity magic, etc, etc. His swings will now leave a trail of that power. Now it begs the question, which sword will he be using? Because he does have about 3 of them. So it's going to be the smaller sword, not the dagger, the smaller sword, and it's going to be glowing with the power that he has, and every time he swings, a big trail of an AoE will follow it. So, what other moves that we can have in this? Well, he will continue swinging and leaving those trails about, and then when eventually he gets bored of that, he'll just do like a big sort of circle. It's a bit like being in the eye of a hurricane. If you're close to him when he does it, you won't get hit by the first bit, but then he'll absorb all the power, and release it with a giant nuclear bomb. And if you're anywhere near that, well, it's pretty obvious, you're gonna get slightly snookered with that one. Genuinely an amazing boss to end the game with, and an absolute banger of a soundtrack. So, fair play. They really cooked with this one. Well, with that pretty much wraps up our guide for the bosses of Elden Ring Nightreign. Again, lots that I didn't cover, purely because you'd be here for hours. And yeah, a lot to sink your teeth into on this one. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.